vehicle, the moment there is a fault code in one unit, it affects the other unit and affect the other unit. It is Jeep Cherokee 2018 model. So I'll do the erasing. I'll check for the fault code and fix it before I can do the DPF issue that is talking about, that I should have a safe drive before I can do that one. But before that, I need to diagnose and know what's causing the actual problem, what's causing the crankshaft position performance issue, if it is from the sensor or it is from the rotor itself. No. So we'll do auto scan and check the fault code. Do auto scan and check the fault code. Then I'll start the vehicle and read the crankshaft position and see if it's from the sensor itself or it's from the rotor. Because when there is load on it, that's where it starts to act funny. And you can see the crankshaft even drops and comes up again. So I'll check all those things and know the actual problem with the vehicle. So as it's scanning, you can see it's scanning a whole lot of modules. So you can see I'm done scanning and it has scanned all the control modules. So let me go to the report and check the reports. So you can see it's an intermittent issue, so it's back to stored and stored. That means when you raise it, it will go. But the moment you start to drive it and it gets to that place, that's where. So the impossible data received from the ECM means there is an error with the ECM. That's why you can see all those things. So what I'll do now is I'll use my scope to diagnose. Now I have connected the pins to my Oscilloscope, so I'll take it inside the vehicle and connect it to my laptop and check. So I wanted to try out the pins with this scope before I do any settings. So now what I'll do is I'll check is both the cam and crank waveform. So what I'll do now, let me go to scope and go to channel 2 and change it to, I think 1 will be okay. Then go to time and change the time so that I can get, so you can see the time. So as I'm changing the channel now, I'm able to get the cam. So which means the cam wave is the 1. The cam wave is the channel. The cam wave is the channel 1, and the crank wave is the channel 2. And you can see the way it's looking. Looks like. So what I'll do is I'll transfer it to the bigger scope so that you can see it clearly and make a diagnosis. Way it is. So I'll take it to the shop so that they work on it. And there is live as the vehicle is moving. So let me accelerate, and because of the frequency. So what I'll do is I'll set it to 10 milliseconds, would help me. So I'll set it to 10 seconds and drive it, then come back and expand it whenever the problem comes in. You can see at this point the engine is off, and if you restart it, it starts again. But you can see that from this point you can see when even the cam is running, you can see there's a lot of drops in it whilst there is no drop in there. And you can see this side, it drops a lot whilst there is no drop in the crank. And the cam is a Hall effect sensor, so you change that one. After several hours of diagnosing, I cranked this vehicle and it's not cranking, and the crank location is here. I don't know how to get let me get the camera in. When you enter to this side, you will see the crank. This is the crank sensor socket. So the crank sensor itself is on top of is behind the flying wheel. So this is the socket, and now the pins are okay. But the car was giving us a performance issue, and after a while of driving, now the car shut down and it's not starting anymore. So I came to check the socket, and you can see this. Sorry, you can see the wiring. So I've taken the socket out and you can see the wiring. This side is barely torn. This wire, you can see it's like it's getting off. You can see it. Focus. You can see, so this wire is barely torn. That's the number one, which is the power. So what I'll do is I'll test for the voltage. If it's something that is going to get torn, then I'll repair the wiring anything, then fix the sensor back. So you can see the sensor is not working. So now the car is not starting, and when I pulled on the sensor, you can see that the wire is torn, which is pin 1. So you can see that the wire is torn. So what I'll do is I'll redo the connection and fix everything back. So you can see the wire is torn, which didn't allow the vehicle to start. So I think maybe whenever it heats up, it warms up, it affects the performance of the sensor, and you can see the green thing in it. So it wasn't getting contact properly. So what I'll do now is I'll peel off the wire and do the wiring work again, then call it a fix. So I'll lift the car up and fix the wiring and anything, then plug the sensor and start the vehicle, because now the vehicle is not starting at all. So now I've prepared the wire, and I'll tape everything up. Before I'll tape it, I'll plug in the crank sensor and start the vehicle. So now everything is set and the wire is fixed. So I'll plug it in and start the vehicle. So now the socket is fixed. So I've pushed in this socket, this yellow socket. You have to take it out before you can take out the socket. So the socket is fixed, and that's where the crank sensor cable, it's not the crank sensor itself, but the cable is located. So what I'll do now is I'll go into the vehicle and start it. So now I'll turn on the key. The moment of truth, I'll crank it, and it's running. Voila, and the vehicle is running. Turn it off again and start it again. So it was the crank sensor which was causing the problem. So now that the crank sensor is fixed, now the vehicle is running. So we'll scan it. Let me see if the check engine light is on. If it is on, then I need to scan it and erase it. Okay, so I'll scan it and erase the check engine light. So now I'll scan the vehicle, and it's in history already. So I'll scan the vehicle and get rid of the check engine light on the system, and you can see the check engine light. So you can see the check engine light. So I'll scan the vehicle. and get rid of the check engine light. So I'll go to full system scan and scan the whole vehicle, and after that I'll erase the fault code and try the vehicle and call it a fix. I don't know what fault code is it, so I have to try it and see the actual fault code I'm going to get again, then I'll call it a fix and give it to the customer to try it, and if there is no issue related to the crank issue, like the way it used to behave when it heats up, if it's not happening again, then that means it's from the cable. So I think pin 1 is I think the power, the 5-volt reference. So anytime the current flowing through is less, that's where the waveform begins to distort. So I think when it heats up, when you drive the vehicle for long. So I'll try it and give the customer a feedback. So now is back, and let me go to report and check the fault code in the report and see. Yeah, crank sensor, it was a circuit problem stored. First, it used to be a performance issue, but it's a circuit problem, and it's telling me back by wire was put in. Yeah. So now I'll shut the vehicle off and erase the fault code and try the vehicle. Erase all fault code and try the vehicle, and I've connected it to the 12+8 socket. So I've bypassed the security gateway module. So erase all the fault code and go for a try and try the vehicle, because yesterday it went off on the road and it wasn't able to start again. So I want to see if the performance issue will come up again. So we pushed it home, and this morning I came to check and I found out that the crank wire is having an issue. So we'll try it and give the customer the feedback that now the vehicle is starting, everything is okay. So I think he has to do something about 1 or 2 things. I think the airbag is having an issue. Yeah. And that one is not part of my job, so I'm not even going to check it. So what I'll do now is I'll pack everything and go for a try and call it a fix. Test drive, there's no light on the instrumental panel, and I'm scanning the whole vehicle, and now there's no faults. PCM2, let me check what the fault is. Okay, particular filter. So there's no fault related to the crank sensor. So this fault code, the main issue has been fixed. So I'll speak to the customer about this fault code if it's something he wants us to deal with it. And I just finished with the diesel regeneration. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel for more videos.